and welcome to the whirlwind bit of data management for your information. Just a little bit about myself. I've been around for some time in clinical research, and I also started my career a long time back as a medical technologist in a hospital environment, and then I went into pharmacology research at DuPont Pharma, and been involved in the Society of Clinical Data Management Education Committee, and I basically started that and was in the lead on that for 7 years, and I was also on the Board of Trustees. And I have significant training experience in diverse venues, including pharma, CRO, NIH, etc. So I've been around, seen a lot of ways that people do things, and find it very interesting, and I learn something new every day. So with our program this morning, we have our learning objectives, which would be identifying roles and responsibilities of the clinical data management research team. And as you may know already, there are quite a few players in the research environment. Data management is one. I'm a bit biased because I think that without data management, you're not going to have any results for your trials. And we really do insist on making sure that the data is firm, that conclusions can be drawn. We'll discuss the protocol design and development process and data management's role in that, recognize our CDM startup activities, and of course, with everything else in clinical research, we have to have documentation that proves that we do what we do. And we'll look at case report form design, those forms that are used to collect information, and the other bits of process such as data tracking and collection, data entry and capture. Also look at data review, which is very important to ensure that the information that's collected follows what the protocol is requiring. We'll talk about the MedRA dictionary, and this dictionary is what is utilized to code or normalize terminologies in medical history and also adverse events. And then this database lock and release phenomenon is basically when we are determined that the data is as good as it's going to get. We have timelines, of course, that are driven as well, but we're going to take that database and shut it down so that no one can change anything, and that the data will then be released to biostatisticians for analyses. I'll also be speaking about adverse events reporting and the reconciliation process that goes on with serious adverse events. And then future study, we're really not quite sure exactly what's happening in the future, because the future is today when we have so many different technologies, but something to look forward to in the world of data management. We start out with good clinical practice, and good clinical practice is really the benchmark for what we do in clinical research. So what is good clinical practice? And of course, the pharmaceutical industry is loaded with acronyms, and so GCP, good clinical practice, and really it applies to the rules of conducting good, clean research and ethical research. And it basically started with the Declaration of Helsinki after World War II, because we know that there were significant crimes against humanity as far as experimental. The purpose of good clinical practice is to protect the rights, safety, and welfare of research subjects and patients. That is primary. We want to comply with global requirements and ensure the integrity of clinical data. And there has been a new release. You have that in your materials. It's a guideline for good clinical practice, but it's the E6R3 Revision 3, which was just released 6th January. And they have principles that they base the article on, and basically its clinical trials should be conducted in accordance with GCP, and they should be designed and conducted in ways that ensure, again, the rights, safety, and well-being of participants. And then one of the really important pieces of clinical research is the informed consent. And basically, anyone who designs to go into a clinical trial has to be consented. They have to be told all of the benefits, all of the potential issues that they may encounter. They really have to be informed that they really do want to participate. And it should be voluntary, and based on the consent process that ensures that the participants or any legal acceptable representatives will be well informed. They're allowed to ask questions, and they don't necessarily have to say, okay, I do want to be in the trial. They have to ask questions. You have to be able to have answers provided appropriately, and people are not to be coerced or told anything that is not applicable to the protocol or the experiment that they're going to be in. The next principle is that clinical trials should be subject to independent review by an IRB, Independent Review Board, or Independent Ethics Committee. The IEC, the Ethics Committee is usually what is the agency called in Europe. Clinical trials should be scientifically sound for their intended purpose, and based on the protocol, the data that's collected should be robust enough to be able to prove the premise that's put in, the hypotheses that's put in the protocol, but it should be robust in current scientific knowledge and approaches, so that there should be a basis of previous information that would make it a viable reason why you're going to be doing this study. Clinical trials should be designed and conducted by qualified individuals. Quality should be built into the scientific and operational design of clinical trials. And clinical trial processes, measures, and approaches should be proportionate to the risks, because at this point in time now, we are told that we need to have a risk-based approach to conducting clinical trials. It used to be back in the day when I first started in clinical research that every little bit had to be checked and balanced, 100 times over. And it is statistically proven that basically you don't have to do 100% of everything, but that you need to identify what risks might be imminent when you're conducting a clinical trial.